Hello! Welcome to our show today. Our very first show on YouTube that we've done. We've done podcasts before, but now we're upgrading to vidcast on YouTube. So now you get to watch us talk, which is going to be very exciting for you guys out there, I'm sure. No? No?
We'll let the viewers decide.
Okay, alright, we're letting the viewers decide. Awesome. Well, today, our debut topic, a good one, very timely. We're going to be talking about Star Wars Episode VII, The Force Awakens, the trailer that everyone seems to be talking about right now. As of this morning, I think it has already gotten over 20 million views on YouTube. I mean, it's pretty crazy. But before we get into the trailer itself, I thought it would be important for all three of us to kind of go around and talk about our views on what the original trilogy is, the prequels, so that you have an idea of where we're coming from when we talk about Episode VII itself. And so, the first question I'm going to ask you guys is, what are your thoughts about the original trilogy? The first time you saw it in theaters. Ben, if you want to start off, we'll go with you.
No surprise. I mean, first time I saw them in theaters would have been '97, the re-release. Otherwise, I mean, too young to have seen them the other way, obviously, but yeah, loved them. All that stuff. I mean, my views really don't diverge that much more than the public, So, yeah. Big fan. I named my cat after one of the characters from the expanded universe. I became such a big fan. So
That's big of you to admit that in front of everyone. I'm glad. I'm proud of you.
I'm not the only one. I'm not.
What about you, John? What are your thoughts?
I named my cat Mr. Bigglesworth, so can't really. I saw. I'm old enough to have seen, I believe, Return of the Jedi in theaters when I was a little kid, and I liked it. I mean, I don't really remember it very well. I'm pretty sure my mom and dad took me to it, but when I saw the re-releases in starting in '97, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, it was amazing. Like, especially the first one. That so many things that they added unnecessarily. Yeah, some of it, but I mean, it was just really cool to see. It was just cool to see it in general and like share that with others who really like the trilogy and stuff like that. So it was cool. It was definitely a positive thing. So
yeah, my first experience seeing it in theaters obviously was the '97 re-releases. I wasn't even alive when Return of the Jedi was in theaters the original time in '83 because I was born in '84. I just remember growing up with the VHS tapes. Playing them until they broke in our household, and then I just remember the excitement of, wow, these are actually finally coming to theaters again, because even as a little kid I always wondered what it would have been like to actually see these films in theater, because it's a whole different experience. And to this day I'm just a fan of the movie theater experience. I like going to the theater and just experiencing that. But Star Wars, like my favorite movie trilogy of all time, in that setting, awesome. And so I just remember going to the theater in just out in the sticks in this theater, and even out there, like I remember I think it was Empire Strikes Back is the one I remember the most going to, and it was like a noon showing on the weekend. But I mean, in this theater, the lobby was packed just to go in, and in that theater that doesn't happen. I mean, that just wasn't even heard of. So it even almost felt like with the re-releases, somewhat what it must have felt like back then when you're sitting outside waiting in line to go in to see the original Star Wars in the 70s and 80s, I must think. And then, again, yeah, like you were saying, John, they added a lot of stuff, and over the years I've soured on that, but back then, I was such a fan of seeing these in the theaters that everything they added was awesome to me. Like, I was like, oh, so cool, like, you get to see all this stuff as George Lucas intended, because I even bought into that garbage back then.
It helped when we were children at the time.
Yeah, it helps. Yeah, when you're a preteen teen, it's easier to buy that. But so I think for all three of us, I think the original trilogy had a profound impact. It was, at least to me, it gave me a passion for film that I think has stuck with me to this day.
Yeah, it's just in general such a huge part of like culture, period.
It is.
I was talking with a friend the other day, and spoiler alert, apparently, Darth Vader is Luke's father.
What?
She was talking to her sister, who was older than her, and didn't even know that. I was like, how do you not know that?
I know, right?
It's just like, even if you have no idea what Star Wars is, like, you should still somehow just know that, like, through, osmosis or something.
Yeah. To be a citizen of this planet, you must know certain things, and that is one of them. Yeah, no, I agree. So, with that being said, we were all excited about the original trilogy. We ate up what was done in the 97 re-releases. We loved that. So when you guys heard that there would be prequel movies, and we're gearing up, we're gonna go see Episode 1, oh my goodness, more new Star Wars films, what were your honest thoughts before you even saw the prequels? Ben, what were your thoughts?
Well, I remember the hype. The hype is probably even bigger than for Episode 7 coming out here, which, that's saying something considering how much hype's going on for this.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
you could not avoid the Episode 1 hype. It was borderline obnoxious, I would say. But once again, I was a kid, so I was all for it. It's not only the Star Wars, it's 100% new Star Wars. So
It'll be like our Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our parents grew up with the original trilogy. This is our Star Wars trilogy.
Yeah.
I mean, it most definitely is ours because they won't take it.
Yeah.
But and
Well, what was the amount of time between when 83 was Return
And 98?
99.
99. So, 16 years?
Wow. Yeah.
And it's another 16 years between...
Wow. Yeah.
Well, not really, because 2005 was...
Yeah. Return of the Sith.
So it's been 10 years.
Yeah.
But
Yes, but 16 since Episode 1.
Yeah.
So that's kind of stretching the facts, but whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. It's. I don't know. I mean, my anticipation was pretty high. I mean, it's Star Wars. Like, Star Wars is amazing. Like, it didn't matter. It didn't even really matter what it was, although you were hoping it was going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
I think everybody was. I mean, it was supposed to tell you. You're supposed to identify with it because it's all about the story leading up to this fantastic thing that happens, in the original trilogy. So
Yeah.
it's like, just to find out all those details, especially if you weren't really up on speed of the whole Star Wars universe, like I really wasn't. I was like interested in knowing what happened.
Yeah.
And then I saw the movie.
Yeah, we'll get into that in just a second. But, my memory was that I was hyped, so hyped in fact that back in the 90s and even in the early 2000s, like, learning when a first trailer would drop with certain films was a huge deal, because this was before the internet where people where movie companies would just throw it on YouTube and you could just watch it that day. Like, you had to go to the theater to see these trailers, and I remember specifically the first teaser trailer debuting with the Will Smith movie Enemy of the State. And I remember going to that film in part just to see that teaser trailer. I was that excited, and I have to admit, when I saw the teaser trailer, I remember actually being really excited for this film, even after seeing the trailer, because they cut the trailers pretty darn well.
Yeah.
It should be said, at this point, the idea of a bad Star Wars movie
It's
was
unheard of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You never heard anyone even think that there's a possibility of a Star Wars movie being great.
For most people, the worst thing that ever happened in Star Wars, the worst thing was Ewoks, and most people can forgive that. But they're like, it can't get any worse than that.
Yeah.
Like, it can't. And then Episode 1 happened.
Well, yeah, you just figure that anything dealing with the Star Wars universe, any characters, anybody that would play those characters, it doesn't matter. It could be bad actors. It doesn't matter. It's going to still be fantastic because it's Star Wars. And George Lucas proved us wrong on that one.
He was determined to prove us wrong, and you know,
Always wanted to fly expectations.
yes, yes. And so I guess my question to you guys is, without getting into specifics in each movie too much, but with what are your so after seeing the prequels, what are your thoughts? Because my thoughts are, I'll go first real quick here. I felt like a battered housewife in a fashion. If I know, because you go in and you see this film and you love Star Wars, right? And then it beats the crap out of you and the faith right out of your soul. But then you're thinking, well, maybe episode 2 will be better. It was probably just a fluke. And you trick yourself into it, and you see the trailers, and you keep tricking yourself and going, "Oh, this could be good," because that was what I did.
Wait, Sam Jackson is in this one.
Yeah, no,
it must be good.
I was tricking. I was trying to trick myself. I was like, "Oh," and then I go see episode 2. You know, and
someone made it worse.
And then you're black and blue, and you're bleeding all over the place, but you're like, okay, all right, but 3's got to be good. I mean, it's what this has all been leading up to. It's got to be good, and then like it just keeps kicking the crap out of you, you know. And there are some people to this day, I am convinced, that have that battered housewife syndrome of trying to defend this. No, but Star Wars still loves me. You don't understand. Like, you know,
I'll never leave you, Star Wars.
I'll never leave you, Star Wars. You know, you may have beaten the living tar out of me like 3 times in a row, but you still love me, right?
I don't condone using Star Wars as a synonym of beating a housewife, but
I'm just saying that's how I
can understand.
You know,
Yeah, they're not quite on the same level.
No, it's not on the same level. I'm not saying that literally.
I understand.
But you know, metaphorically speaking.
Yeah,
obviously.
I get it. That's a good metaphor. It's yeah.
Your thoughts? Turn it over to you guys.
My thoughts are, once again, they don't diverge any from the mass public. They're terrible, but of course, I was in that group that for the first full year to seeing each one, I convinced myself that they weren't that bad, you know. Episode 1, no, it's good. It means Darth Maul. She's awesome. But of course, you know, after a few months, I started realizing, wait, that pod racing scene, it just wouldn't end. It just kept going and going.
Well, they needed a commercial for that game they put out.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, Star Wars Pod Racer.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually think I ended up seeing the movie at least 3 different times in theaters, but it was almost on accident every time, except for the first one. Yeah, I don't know. It was so hard to like. You were like battling with yourself almost, because it was like, this is Star Wars. I like this, right? I'm liking this.
I'm supposed to like this, right?
I like this, right? And like you were just battling with yourself over like whether or not you could not like it or you had to like it.
Yeah.
It was so bizarre, and yeah, I'm pretty sure I still went to it like 3 different times.
Because I remember that I went the day of for episode 1.
Yeah,
I remember that. And then I got in a car by the time episode 2 came out, still in high school, and I remember that at least by that point I wasn't even planning on going to see like episode 2 like midnight showing or whatever. I remember my friend and I were out at a concert that night, and it's 10:30, 11 o'clock ish, somewhere in there, and we're driving home, and we're just rolling along, and we're passing one of the theaters, and we're coming up on one of the theaters, and I'm like, huh, and I just remember saying like, oh yeah, episode 2's out, it's coming out tonight, midnight showing tonight, and my friends looked at me and goes, no, you want to go? I'm like, I guess. Like, I wasn't really even that excited. I was like, but hey, whatever, nice young, we're high schoolers, whatever, let's just do it, you know? And we did, and that was brutal.
I'll say that might be worse than episode 1.
Well, because, I mean, that's the thing about the movies, and I think the prequels that is frustrating, not to get too deep into it, but like you said, there are bits and pieces except for episode 2, I would say. Where there's certain things that are good in episodes at least 1 and 3. Like Darth Maul is the one redeeming thing of episode 1.
Yeah.
All 5 minutes of them.
All 5 minutes of them, but that's about what you can take from it. Episode 2, I can't recall a single thing that I would call redeeming from that film.
No, because there's so many things that happen that just stab you in the heart.
Yeah.
About like the lore and everything, and it's just like, what are you doing to me?
And episode 3 had some cool things.
Well, it was a bridge to the bridge to the gap between the actual original trilogy. And,
Yeah.
I mean, that's its like only redeeming factor
Yeah.
is that you got that. Why you were supposed to go in and like the Phantom Menace is why you went in and possibly liked Revenge of the Sith, because it was the bridge to the gap of.
It was the meat and potatoes of your
It's like,
course.
oh, that's what happened.
Yeah.
And you still didn't really care after you saw it anyway.
And the best summary, to summarize my opinions on the prequels, is they really come across as really bad fan fiction. Really, that's really.
It's just really.
You could probably find better fan fiction than that online.
To me, there's no soul to them.
Yeah.
I think that's my main problem with all of it.
It's all jargon and politics and terrible. I don't know how you could get that bad of acting out of such fantastic actors like Ewan McGregor and Natalie Portman. I mean, I'm convinced that The Phantom Menace is what made Liam Neeson start doing all the Taken movies. Because he's like, well, they're not going to take me seriously anymore. I might as well just start doing these terrible action movies. 'Cause I can't be a real actor anymore.
I have a particular set of skills.
Wooden acting.
But I will say, Ewan McGregor, at least in the third one,
They couldn't save it.
At least in the third one, he gave a good enough performance. Let me put that. Despite everything,
you were the chosen one.
Good enough.
I have the high ground.
Considering what it was given, it was a.
I know.
Yeah.
I think we'll have to do a whole episode on the prequels one day, just to vent and get it out there. But that's just our overall.
We've
thoughts.
already done the podcast on it, but I just feel it's all coming back up again.
But that podcast was more on the special editions,
True.
so the original trilogy, not necessarily prequels.
Oh yeah, we never did do that.
No, I never did the prequels themselves.
Thankfully.
Does that mean I had to watch those prequels again?
Dredge that back up.
Well, let's not get into that right now.
Let's just,
You're
let's
not gonna make me do
let's
that,
talk
are
about,
ya?
Let's talk about more positive things.
Yes,
Let's go in a more
please.
positive direction. All right. So, when you guys heard then, after seeing the prequels, I mean, we love the original trilogy. Prequels beat the crap out of us and left us for dead. When you heard about Disney's announcement that they had not only purchased Lucasfilm, but they were making episodes 7, 8, and 9, what was your initial reactions to that?
Well, it was kind of surprising that Lucas sold the rights to Star Wars in the first place. I don't know what was behind that. I don't know if he was just done with it or I don't even really know.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't looked up information about that, but I was surprised to hear that initially. But then to hear that they were actually going to do something with it wasn't that surprising, because why do you buy a franchise if you're not going to do something with it?
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't really sure what to feel, because it was Disney. I mean, Disney does okay stuff. I mean, sometimes it's a little too corporate because they've got to make their egg back. But like then I heard the people that were becoming involved with it, and I kind of heard more about what it was not going to be about necessarily, but just people involved, and the fact that it's obviously going to continue on a path of the original trilogy and a story along those lines, because obviously they're getting back a lot of the actors who were in the original trilogy. And I mean, that's just better because it makes it you're more personal with it, because you've already identified with those characters, so you're hoping that brings you in a little deeper than seeing a bunch of prequels with people you've never heard of and Jar Jar Binks and just people running around like idiots or going to meetings I don't know. And when I heard J.J. Abrams was involved, I was like, okay, if he can do anything that he did with this, with what he did with Star Trek, it's got to be okay. And anything is going to be better than the drivel that was put out by George Lucas with the prequels. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Okay.
I think cautiously optimistic
Yeah.
is the phrase I'm going in with.
At least back then, you were cautiously optimistic.
Then and now, there's really nothing in the trailers. I mean, remember, Episode 1 has taught me,
Yeah.
never expect a Star Wars movie to be great until you see the movie.
You can always cut a trailer to be, I mean, not always, but most of the time you can cut a trailer to be fantastic. And then you can see the movie and be like, wow, okay, this is not good. So
Yeah.
I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah. So, I mean, at first I was kind of the big thing. Try that again. Going into this, I was kind of at first excited that they might do expanded universe stuff because, you know, they bought the rights to things. So maybe we'll get the Thrawn trilogy. Obviously, since then they've said we're not doing any expanded universe and all that stuff. They're throwing all that out, starting anew, essentially, except for the stuff that happens before the original trilogy. All those books are still canon, but so maybe we'll get a Darth Bane trilogy I've been waiting for years, but no, not gonna happen. But you know, so that's what I was hoping for. So I was kind of disappointed we're not gonna see, you know, them bring in Thrawn, you know. Bring in Hugo Weaving to be Thrawn or something. I mean, that'd be awesome. Never gonna happen though. But
Mr. Skywalker. Surprised to see me. Yeah, okay. Well, when I first heard about it, I got excited, but then I reeled myself back in a little bit because I'm like, wait, is George Lucas still involved? That was like my first fear, like, which tells you something, like, about the effect that Prequels had on me.
That's so sad.
It is, but that was my honest reaction. I was like, wait,
It's true.
is George Lucas involved? And so I started reading the articles, and I kind of came down, but then they said he had a consultant role, and I was still kind of concerned because I'm like, well, what does that mean? Like, how much sway does he actually have?
Yeah.
You know? And thankfully, he had little to none, and since then we've learned that he did turn over his treatments for episodes 7, 8, and 9, but Disney said, no, thanks for not using your treatments. And
Thank you, Jesus.
as far as I know, J.J. Abrams never really met with Lucas at all or used him in the consulting role. That's as far as we know. There's no confirmation on that. But the last time they talked to Lucas, which wasn't too long ago, he said they never really pulled him up for anything.
Yeah.
So to me, that's actually a really good sign.
Yeah.
Some people might be insulted that the creator wasn't consulted. You know, it's like, but hey, he sold it. And my opinion is, if you sell something and you didn't put something in the contract that you wanted to be involved specifically, then there's no obligation to involve you.
Yeah.
You know, so by selling it, you're saying you're done. But so once I got all that out of the way, I was cautiously optimistic. You know, I wasn't. I don't know. I don't think I was as excited as I probably would have been had the prequels not existed. And
Yeah.
that kind of leads to that question. Do you think, because to me, the prequels really have tempered my expectation for future Star Wars movies. They've really, like, made me pull back and go, Because if the prequels hadn't existed, I'd be sitting here raving.
Yeah.
I'd be sitting here like a fanboy
That's
saying,
true.
greatest movie ever, Episode 7 will be awesome. I can guarantee you I'd be saying that
Yeah.
if it wasn't for the prequels.
Well, it's kind of a two-way street there. Like, I definitely see where you're coming from. Like, if the prequels wouldn't have been there, you would have been way more excited. But on the other hand, I'm excited because the prequels were there, and they took my expectations down so low that I'm more excited about this because it's going in, like, hopefully a completely different direction. But yeah, I'd be right with you if the prequels wouldn't have been there.
I've never heard someone say they're excited because the prequels exist.
I know, right?
I think the way I put it is that it gives me... I mean, in a way, it's good the prequels happened because I have more realistic expectations, I think, than I would have. And I think, in a way, that's a good thing. If you could take one good thing from the prequels, maybe it's that. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Nothing really. I mean, my one concern with this whole thing is the rumors of a Yoda movie they're considering doing. That's my one concern about this whole thing is, do we need them to churn out?
Shoot.
do these
they are doing
Yoda origins.
Because they are doing spin-off movies, and the first spin-off movie title's been announced. It is Star Wars Rogue One, and that will come out in December of 2016.
And they're doing Boba Fett, so yay, the fanboys get to have their Boba Fett movie if the rumors are true.
Well, it's a rumor at this point. We don't know, but, you know, we'll see how it goes. Because there's been rumors of a young Han Solo movie, there's been rumors of a Boba Fett movie, there's been rumors of the Yoda movie.
Well,
but we have this movie called Rogue One, which is apparently going to be, I would think, about Rogue Squadron. Unless the name is a misnomer. So, we'll see. But yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. My only fear is with like the spin-offs and all that, because they're coming out year after year after year, that you're going to oversaturate the market with Star Wars. But on the other hand, as long as all these movies are awesome,
if they're good, it's okay.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, that there's a lot of that. There's a lot of hit and miss now. I mean, they're putting out a lot. They're putting out a lot of pretty decent movies now. A lot of mainstream decent movies. Like some of these superhero movies are actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And it's really surprising. So if they can. And I thought both the Star Trek movies were really good. I mean, other than super like Star Trek fans, like who cares about a Star Trek movie? But it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I like both of those Trek films, and I thought J.J. Abrams did brilliant things with that too. Yeah, I agree.
So, but I mean, yeah, with X-Men, you know, you started having some of the Origins movies, and they didn't do very well.
No.
And there was supposed to be more of them, and because Wolverine didn't do well, they didn't have any more. So, I mean, it could go that way too. I think people would eat that up just because it's Star Wars. But you're right. I think there's a line that could definitely be crossed in that respect, where they just start doing way too much. And
I think their saving grace will possibly be that at least they're just going to do 7, 8, and 9 for now. They haven't announced a 10 and 11 and 12, which is good. And that every other year at least it'll be a spin-off, which could take it in a different direction. So we're not staying with this main story for 5 years, year after year in a row. There will be something to break it up. And if those movies are good on their own, then who knows where it goes. I mean,
Oh, so we hopefully won't have Star Wars, Tokyo Drift anytime soon. Yeah. You never know.
How Star Wars got its groove back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it gets better at Force 5.
Force 5, yes, that's what they'll call them.
Yeah.
Okay, alright.
Star Wars The Metachlorians.
The Metachlorian.
God,
yes.
do we know if that's gonna be a thing? I have no idea.
If J.J. Abrams knows what's good for him, he's gonna stay away from midichlorians.
I hope that the fact that they knew about midichlorians or whatever was because it was the original trilogy, and things hadn't fallen apart at that point, and they kind of knew all those things.
Yeah.
And now since everything has fallen apart and there's been this huge war, they've lost so much of their history.
Lost forever.
That if you have the Force, it's just because guess what? You have the freaking Force. You know, it's not because you have a bunch of microbes in your body swimming around.
Yes. So, that's what needs to happen. If you're gonna write it off, that's the perfect way to do it. That the Emperor destroyed the Jedi archives, and therefore we don't know anything about that.
Yes.
And boom!
Basically, kind of what they did with Star Trek, because they went into an alternate timeline universe, so they could wipe the slate clean.
Yep.
Although they're obviously not doing that here because
Not
they have
yet.
returning characters. But
if these moves do poorly enough, they might do that.
So then we kind of sat back. There were rumors going around the internet about what this is going to be about. I'm going to try to stay away from spoilers because there are some spoilerish things that I did catch early on, but then I kind of swore to myself I would not get into the obsessive spoiler mode.
I've been other than these couple trailers that have come out, I've been specifically trying to not.
And my view is, unless
much.
they officially release it and it's from the studio, I'm not looking at it. If the studio comes out and says something, shows something, it's fair game, it's public knowledge. I'll talk about it. I'll see it, and I'll do that. So, and we'll get to a lot of Episode 7 information from the celebration that happened on the celebration panel, and what happened on the showroom floor. There were bits of information that came out from both of those, and also the trailer as well. So we'll be discussing all that information here too as well. But before we get to that new trailer, that first teaser that came out, it was interesting. There's always been a lot of talk about it. We see a stormtrooper apparently without the helmet pop up on a desert planet, which everyone assumed was Tatooine, which we now know it's not Tatooine. The planet name is Jakku, apparently.
Of course.
What else would you name a desert planet?
So that is the name of it, and we saw the little ball droid rolling around.
That threw me. That felt a little too prequelish to me.
It did too to me, but the thing is, it's not CG actually. That's an actual real practical effect, and they brought it out on stage and had it roll around. It's actually amazing technology to see that thing roll around. I was like, wow, that. Because there's no mold line. Like I would expect like a wire or something, but no, it's like this. The top thing is independent of the body and it's moving around on its own kind of thing. And it's wicked stuff. I was like, that's groundbreaking practical effects. But yeah, the BB-8 is the name of that droid, by the way. And so yeah, we caught that. That was a thing too. I was immediately taken back to prequel territory, and I was like,
wait. Just waiting for somebody to bop it on the head so it like collapses or whatever, or bop it on the nose so it collapses.
Ooh. Yeah.
Bump the head so that ball expands. Yeah. It's like inflatable.
There's always a bigger fish.
We saw a girl get on this big, it was almost like a motorcycle version of a land speeder, this big clunky thing, and she takes off on it.
Pretty cool, actually.
It was pretty cool. It was a beast of a little machine there, and she took off, and
allegedly she's the main character.
She's, at least one of them.
From what we can tell.
And what else did we see in that trailer? Yes, obviously we saw
so long ago, I can't remember.
Our Sith friend with the crossguard lightsaber, which was kind of the uproar of the internet.
Should we get into the lightsaber, or?
I'm just gonna say I'm fine with it. I see no issue with it necessarily. At first I thought it was silly. I still find it a little silly, but I understand what they're trying to do.
It's a bit odd. So it's got a Sith claymore, essentially.
It really makes no sense, but it looks cool.
It looks cool. I'm fine with it.
That's the important thing.
To me, it doesn't hurt.
Hey, well, wait.
I mean, it's obviously something to sell toys and to, it's appealing to the marketing of it,
That's where you get J.J. Abrams. I mean, we see in this new trailer, we'll get there, but there's a lot of things that just look cool.
But I will say,
they're really good functionally.
No, but one thing that is cool about that lightsaber is that it's not like a smooth, blade. It's almost like jagged like fire. I kind of like that. I don't know if they're going to explain why his lightsaber does that or whatnot, but it's a cool effect to one way or the other. I dig it.
Yeah.
It gives us something a little bit new. Anything else that I'm missing from that trailer? I should have probably watched it before we came on.
The Millennium Falcon flying and
Millennium Falcon, yes. We have the voiceover too of who we think will be our Sith friend, or someone like that.
Kylo Ren.
Kylo Ren, yes, is the Sith.
As they revealed later on. The weird virtual trading card thing that I still don't get.
Yeah. And so, Millennium Falcon flies by, TIE fighter shooting at it over the surface of Jakku, and then we cut to the title, which I will keep harping on because I find this fascinating and I want an answer to it. It just comes up as Star Wars: The Force Awakens. This is obviously Episode 7. But, you remember, with the prequels, it was big Episode 1, Episode 2, Episode 3. And, you would just expect they would carry that on, Episode 7. But they're not doing that. They're staying away from the episode numbers. And I wonder if...
They want to draw attention away from the prequels, I think.
I think that's it.
That's the part of it.
I mean, or they want to just, they don't need an episode. It doesn't need to say episode 7. Everybody's going to say that anyway. But
Yeah.
they're making it their own. Maybe, I don't know.
I think the only reason you do it is to try to stay away from the prequels. I think you don't want to remind people of the prequels. I think it leaves a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths.
Yeah.
And you want to send a silent signal to fans of, this is more like the original trilogy. We're getting away from the prequels.
Yeah, you remember when there was no episode anything, and it was just a title of a movie, and then later on we added that whole episode thing?
I mean, obviously it'll be in the opening crawl. It will say episode 7 because all the movies do that. Even.
Makes
I
me wonder
guess,
what will the spin-offs say there?
That's the thing. It probably won't say an episode number at all. It'll probably just have the title. Just skip over the episode number, obviously. But I don't know. Yeah.
I kind of wonder if they're doing that to make this new trilogy, each movie make it a standalone movie. Kind of point attention to this isn't necessarily purposely. This movie stands by itself. That might be part of why they're doing it.
I hope not, because I hope that this Kylo Ren guy is not just someone they kill off in this movie and we start all over again in 8, and then because that was the problem with the prequel trilogy. We never had a real bad guy that stuck around.
It was all except for the Emperor, which was obvious because I think that's another problem with the prequel. Not to go back to it, but you knew everything that. I mean, some of it just didn't make sense, like the origins of C-3PO and stuff like that. I mean, it was just stupid. But
you already want a protocol droid on a farm.
You already knew who was who and what was what and who was going to live and who was going to die and who. It just you didn't care because you knew it all already. And now with this, we're moving into new territory, and it's just gonna. I just think it's going to be just far more interesting. I'm hoping.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's gonna be awesome. I hope so.
I hope so too.
I hope so. I gotta say, I hope so. I can't. I'm fighting going into fanboy mode. I really am fighting.
See you fighting it, James.
I just.
We can see the conflict within you.
But with this prequel, well, not with prequel, with episode 7, I feel like Fox Mulder, right? I feel like I should have a poster that says Star Wars: The First Awakening, and underneath it, I want to believe. I
with
want.
An X-wing on it instead of a UFO.
I want to believe in episode 7. I want to believe that it will be awesome. With that, let's talk about the second teaser, and then we'll go into. And what I did is I did freeze frames on the trailer, and I really was looking for certain things.
I thought you would.
Certain discussion items that we could talk about here. Go a little bit more in depth on this particular trailer, because there is some really interesting things in this trailer that probably you wouldn't catch just watching it through, because...
It helps if you've obsessed over this stuff for decades.
Yes, right? Like I have, because I'm a loser. So...
You guys are such nerds.
I'm not a nerd like you. I'm just talking about episode 7 on a YouTube video.
Hey, who's the only one here not wearing a Star Wars t-shirt?
I know, you suck. What's your problem?
What's up?
So anyway, another thing that I find interesting is Disney now owns Lucasfilm, but there's no Disney logo on these trailers. I find that kind of interesting. I don't know what that means. They're not ashamed of it. I just find it interesting that there's no Disney anything.
No Disney affiliation.
I'm sure it'll be there when the movie starts up.
I'm sure it will be, but I just find it interesting on the trailers. There's no, hey, we're Disney and we're involved with this, because usually they love that kind of marketing, But apparently, again, maybe they're trying to go for an old school feel, because when the second trailer opens up, it just shows Lucasfilm like you're used to, and
that could very well be.
But yeah, so.
Neither that nor the Bad Robot logo that Abrams usually
That's
uses.
true. Although, was that in the first trailer? I thought the Bad Robot one might have been in the first one.
I don't
I'm not sure.
I know it's not in this new one.
Yeah, it's not in the new one though. Yeah, all we see is Lucasfilm. And so it opens up with a voiceover from Luke Skywalker, but it was re-recorded.
Fantastic. Oh, was it really?
Yeah, this is new.
Oh, yeah,
he says it a little differently at the end.
I'm wondering if it was just the last part he re-recorded or if it was the entire thing.
Listening to it, no, it sounds like it was completely re-recorded.
When he in the original movie, when he says my sister had it, like it's different.
And that's where it kind of ends, and the way he says it is very different. My sister has it. Because he's talking to Leia there. Here, he appears to be talking to possibly a son or daughter, I would imagine.
Or niece or nephew.
Or niece or nephew.
Yeah.
That could be right.
You know where Mom Honey's on.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. So, yeah, I think it's interesting. Yeah, I don't know if this is going to actually be in the movie or if this was recorded specifically for the trailer, because sometimes they do that.
They do that a lot.
But it's cool to hear. I mean, and it kind of gives you that idea again. Yet another nod of we're going back, guys. You know, this isn't prequel stuff.
I just hope it's not filled with all these referencing to the previous movies. That was my biggest ding on J.J. Abrams with the Star Trek movies.
But this was
too much referencing the old stuff.
But this was a good kind of reference, you know, in the fact that it's just, and it's giving you more information as it's being said too, which is I think is kind of nice.
The only difference between that and what Star Wars is that Star Trek was a reimagining and had the same characters from the original Star Trek just being played by different people, whereas in Star Wars it's like it's going to be completely different new characters. So I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some throwback to the originals because for one, a lot of the original people are going to be in it, but yeah, it's not going to be like I would hope that it's not going to be like these weird little inside jokes, like to Triffids and
I mean,
and Star Trek, but like I wouldn't mind some of that.
As long as the dialogue feels natural and it feels like something they would be saying in those circumstances, I have no problem with it. It's when it feels forced and they're almost looking at the camera and winking, you know, like, hey, you know.
Like Han Solo just turns the camera and it says, I know.
Or they'll do it the other way around. He'll say, I love you to Leia, and she'll say, I know. Or, you know, like.
I mean, I wouldn't even mind that.
I don't know if I would mind that. I mean, 'cause it's all on context. It
depends on
how it's
they
used.
use it and how it's taken and how they want it to be taken.
I agree.
Slapstick, I don't know if I can handle. Because there was way too much. There was way too much.
Banner hits down over the head with it.
Get the
that's what I was getting so much from the original trilogy, or not the original trilogy, but the prequels was just this slapsticky idiocy. It's just like, come on.
It's so out of place in the Star Wars universe.
You didn't enjoy C-3PO's head being dragged on a battlefield and being attacked.
Saying this is such a drag.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't that hilarious?
They were able to do that stuff in the original trilogy, but it was much more subtle. And like it was I'm looking forward to this movie being a more adult version of Star Wars. Like it's for adults.
I think there's already one of those out there, actually.
You know what I mean.
So getting back to the trailer, so the first thing that we see as the camera pans over Jakku is you first see in the foreground, you see that X-Wing, it crashed in the sand, and then as it keeps going, you see a Star Destroyer just
phenomenal.
As you see this little craft going by, and I swear it's that girl on that speeder.
We know from promotional stuff that she's apparently some kind of salvager.
Yeah, she's like I have it written down here. She described herself as, let me see if I can find it quick. Panel, alright. So yeah, the character's name is Rey. The actress who plays her, his name is Daisy Ridley. And I think she's a pretty brand new actress. I don't think she's been in much of anything else.
There's not a lot of people that I recognize in this movie. There's a few, but very small
Which,
parts.
again, harkens back to the original trilogy.
Totally. And that's not accidental.
No.
That is 100% because of that, I would say.
Yeah.
With the exception of the villains, I really don't recognize any of the names.
Yeah. And again, like, Star Wars also had some accomplished actors, too, like Sir Alec Guinness and, the name escapes me of who played Tarkin.
Blanking now.
That's what I was going
Peter...
Cushing, yeah.
Yes. So there were some accomplished actors in there too, but they were more of your like theatrical actors, and Andy Serkis could almost fit in that area too because he's such a good voice actor and just he's really an actor's actor, and so to have him in this film as a more accomplished name, I'm totally on board with. But yeah, getting back to her, so her name is Rey. and she's she calls herself a scavenger in a ship graveyard, quote unquote. So maybe what we're seeing is a ship graveyard of sorts, where they put old ships or whatever.
Maybe.
And
or maybe there's an awesome battle above that planet. Who knows?
Yeah,
I took it as like the battle that happened.
And yeah, maybe there was one. I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure there was multiple battles after Return of the Jedi, even after
maybe they're still going.
Empire fell. Yeah. It's a fantastic opening shot. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Just to see the size of, and it was awesome to have the X-wing up front, and then the Star Destroyer way behind it, just being like the difference in size, and just the fact that that would happen. Like, you're gonna crash a ship and it's gotta go somewhere, and you're not moving it.
Yeah,
it's just there now. It's become part of the environment. It was really good.
It was
really cool.
It was awesome, and
I really hope that's an opening shot from the movie, because that's just such a killer shot.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, and she's probably gonna play a rogue type of character. She's kind of says that she can fix anything. She's kind of self-reliant and.
A rogue, a scoundrel, if you will.
Scoundrel, if you will. Yes, exactly.
Maybe she's related to one of those.
Let's not go there. It can't happen.
I don't know. That's pure speculation, by the way. No confirmation. So don't go after me, YouTube.
Star Destroyer's on the planet Jakku. By this point, we know that. And then we cut to Vader's burned mask that's apparently on some sort of pedestal. And
is it in a museum? I don't know.
I don't know. It's interesting that someone would have apparently gone to the burial site and taken the mask.
Who even knew he was buried?
It was just Luke.
Yeah.
Kind of suspicious.
And Ghost Hayden Christians.
Maybe he's going around telling people, "Hey, you want my mask? It's a good collector's item. You can probably fetch a good price for
I
it."
need money.
So yeah, who knows? But so we cut to that. I thought that was interesting, and then R2 with a cloaked man who has a robotic hand, who is.
That's not Luke. I'm calling
that. It may or may not be. I don't know. The voiceover says when he says "I have it," they shows him touching R2, so it could be Luke.
I think they want you to believe that's Luke.
But he's on a volcanic planet, and is this Mustafar? Is this the volcanic planet from the end of Episode 3? Could Luke be there for some reason?
Or could the villain be there for some reason?
Or could the villain be there for some reason? We know in a later shot in this trailer that the villain looks to be on a volcanic planet as well. So
I'm kind of wondering, pure speculation, the villain might have retrieved Vader's mask. Maybe he's on some kind of tour of Vader's life or something. Maybe he's a big fan of Vader's. I don't know, but he picked R2.
On your left, you'll see the Tatooine.
He picked up R2 because he knows R2 was there on that planet, so he knew where, to go. I'm thinking that somehow this villain was able to pick up R2 and someone knew that R2 knew everything about Vader and is somehow going to find artifacts from Vader. I don't know.
It's possible. And speaking of artifacts, the next scene we have is someone who, when I freeze frame it, it looks like it could be an alien type of person handing Luke's original lightsaber, or Anakin's lightsaber from Episode 3, the one that Luke's lost when Vader chopped his hand off at the end of Empire. That particular lightsaber is being handed to a woman, and it is being handed to her as Luke says, "My sister has it," so I'm assuming the lightsaber is being handed to Leia.
Doesn't that look like...
Those hands do not look like I think that's our Rey characters getting it.
Yeah. But who
Possibly.
Who knows?
I think they want you to believe it's Leia, but they're not showing that face.
Yeah.
So there's the lightsaber is being handed from someone to someone, but it's interesting that there's a lightsaber that was lost on Cloud City has somehow been recovered, and why it has or how it was is going to be an interesting
Maybe
story.
Billy D is making an appearance.
Maybe. Hey, I was cleaning out the garbage chutes in the Cloud City, and I came across this.
Just taking out the Cloud City trash one day.
Yeah,
and,
or whatever.
this just fell out.
I was looking for some of my MJ Colt 45 cans to bring in for recycling.
Does he hold up a can as he's...
They put a commercial on the wall.
Billy D.
Oh man, I hope he comes back somewhere in this trilogy. I'd like to see him again.
Well, that's another good point. We'll probably get to it. Like, I wonder how much. I'm curious how much screen time some of these actors are gonna have, like Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill. And, are they just gonna be a little snippet? I'm thinking it's gonna be a snippet in this movie, or quite a bit in this movie, and then they're gonna move it on, and they're just. I don't think. I mean, depending on when they're going to make the next movie, you know.
In the panel, the very first actors they brought out were the young cast.
Yeah.
They were up front and center. They didn't bring out the old guard. And when they did, they concentrated on asking the young cast a lot more questions about the movie than they did the old cast. So it almost is sending a signal, to me at least, that the young cast is the main focus.
Yeah. Well, and I could definitely see that.
And I'm absolutely fine with that.
Yeah.
I think that you don't want an old Luke or an old Han being the main characters here. I mean, they could be the mentors. I've always thought that if Luke's in this movie, he's more of what Obi-Wan Kenobi was in the original trilogy. And
Obi-Wan died in the middle of that first movie.
I would almost guarantee they're going to kill off somebody.
Yeah, someone's going to die.
I would almost guarantee it. And Luke is a great choice. If that's who you're going to kill off. Because
Luke doesn't die in his sleep. He's not going to be one to go out like a punk. He's going to go out fighting. You know, you would expect that of him. And
we're speculating so much right now, but that could totally happen, and it would not be that big of a deal.
No,
because it would be fantastic. It would be great.
But it would be shocking to people because I don't think a lot of people would bet on that. I think they're betting that Luke will ride off into the sunset, and if he doesn't, it's going to be a theater silent moment. I think. You know.
And then it'll explode and a ring will appear around it. Ching. Yeah.
Oh, bringing it back.
That's a special edition.
So we get to the Luke's lightsaber.
Yep.
Is being handed to someone.
We see more X-wings flying over water. That was in the original trailer, but this is like a different kind of shot of that. And we get our
Rogue Squadron.
I don't know, but we see our first shot in this new trailer of Poe Dameron, this X-wing fighter pilot, played by Oscar Isaac, who is also one of the main characters. And he said in the panel that Princess Leia sends him on a mission. He says a certain princess sends him on a mission. He's obviously talking about Leia.
Yeah.
And he says that he and Finn, who is this stormtrooper guy, they cross paths, and that's where like the adventure begins for both of them on this journey. So it's going to be interesting because, it seems like there's a lot of paths crossing in unusual ways here.
That's totally harkens back to the original trilogy too.
Yeah,
they did it so well. You didn't even really notice it. It was so fluid that it just kind of happened.
Because it was all happenstance. I mean, it just so happened that the droids crashed on this desert planet, who just so happened to run into Luke, and Luke happened to know.
Or was it the Force leading it?
Hey,
in the midichlorians.
Yes, I do actually.
Oh, I hate that word. Oh, I hate that word. So
terrible.
Then we see Kylo Ren, our Sith Lord guy, quickly swing his lightsaber weapon towards the camera real quick, and I want to say in this scene he's probably on that lava planet. It's a real quick shot, but there might be a fight on this lava planet.
And you can clearly see stormtroopers behind him and everything.
That's another shot coming up.
In that one as well, in the first one we
Oh, is it?
well.
Background?
Can you see it?
I freeze framed it.
Okay, you saw it. So you caught something I didn't.
Yeah. So he seems to be aligned with the Empire, or at least what's left of it.
Yeah.
Seems to be. That's you don't know.
And so then we see Rey and Finn. See, these two are crossing paths. They're on Jakku and they cross paths here, but they're running from this huge explosion that happens in the background, and we're not sure what that's all about. And so then we cut to, again, Kylo Ren. It looks like he's using a force push of some kind. He's got his lightsaber back and he's using a force push. And that's when we get the first good look at the mask that he's wearing.
It kind of reminds me of Darth Revan from that Knights of the
Yeah,
Republic game,
yeah,
if
yeah,
anybody
yeah, yeah.
remembers that.
That's kind of what harkened back to me too. A lot of people are saying that.
Ren, just too short of Revan. Am I stretching this enough to justify it? No.
No, you can stretch it some more if you want.
I just want the expanded universe to count some, okay?
So no, he's doing the force push, and then again it looks like it could be a volcanic planet, maybe Mustafar. We don't know. There are stormtroopers in the background. There's also other people in the background too, and I'm not sure what that's all about. You see a group of 2 or 3 at least other people in the background of the shot, and again the helmet's like Darth Vader. You can't see his eyes or anything like that. It's completely obscuring his face.
Question is, how long till the reveal? Because that mask is coming off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will. And then we see an army of stormtroopers posing in front of a large red symbol of some type that is not the Imperial symbol that we know from the original trilogy. At the convention, and I have it around here somewhere. So at the convention there was these suits of different armor and stuff like that that was used in the movie, and they referred to the stormtrooper stuff as First Order stormtrooper armor. So maybe that's a new name for this empire or whatever this thing is. It's the First Order.
Maybe the empire is fractured. Maybe there's many small factions of the
That would
empire.
make sense after what happened at the end of Return of the Jedi. I mean, they were reeling from that. They lost the Emperor. They lost Darth Vader. They lost their moon. That's no moon base. So yeah, it could definitely be fractured.
Yeah, which would be an interesting way to go.
We see in the exhibit a flame trooper armor suit, all white. It's got white tanks. It's a flamethrower and stormtrooper kind of guy.
That's straight from the video games.
Yeah, so I thought that was actually kind of cool. And we do see a new version of the snowtrooper armor as well. And again, all those were labeled First Order armor. And then we saw like a general's costume. Like it harkened back to the original trilogy, like what the generals wore. But they called it Resistance, not Rebellion. Resistance. General suit or whatever. So maybe it's not Rebellion, it's Resistance, and maybe it's not Empire, it's First Order. I don't know. But I just thought that was kind of interesting information. Semantics, but
Maybe, yeah.
Probably.
I'm assuming that since it says First Order, that means something more, and maybe that'll be explained. Hopefully it will be.
Did they have the awesome chrome stormtrooper armor up there?
No, they didn't have it on display, the Chrome Trooper armor, which we'll get to actually. Oh, that was boss.
I have no idea what function it serves, but it looked cool. That's the important thing.
And the other thing about where all the stormtroopers are, it's on an ice planet of some kind.
Not Hoth, probably.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's Hoth or not, but it reminded me of it.
Why can't it just be Hoth?
So, and then we see black TIE fighters swooping by. In the original trilogy they were more of a gray. These are black, which I thought was interesting. It's a little tweak.
I'm not sure, but I could have sworn there was slightly off-color ones as well in there, but I'm not sure.
There were a lot of different vehicles that we saw, Imperial vehicles, like a different take on the Imperial shuttle, and its escort craft looked really different as it was coming up on the new type of Star Destroyers that they have.
Which looks boss.
Yeah, they're all awesome, man. I dig it.
That's 2 bosses, by the way.
Like a boss.
If you're keeping track, that's 3.
Yeah.
So,
I'm gonna have a boss tracker at the bottom.
oh, I should put that in here. Oh man.
Quick cut.
So then we go to the Imperial hangar bay, and there's a TIE fighter firing into the Imperial hangar bay, and you see stormtroopers flying up from the explosions and stuff like that.
Maybe the Empire is fractured. That's part of where I got the idea from, I'll admit. But maybe that's Kylo Ren in there doing his Sith thing, because,
Or maybe it could be Finn, our stormtrooper friend.
Yeah.
escaping and turning on his stormtrooper brethren at that point, because maybe because my thought on Finn is maybe at the beginning of the film he's like a hardcore believer in this First Order, and then something happens
to
changes his mind, and then he makes his escape or something like that.
Or maybe some kind of mole planted there. Who knows?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a good point too.
Yeah.
So my money's on Jake Lloyd. I think it's probably Jake Lloyd.
Yeah. He could spin. That's a neat trick. Yeah.
What this button does? Oh, I just killed everyone inside here. Oh.
Aww.
Boo. Jake Lloyd.
You don't need to bring this up. You don't need to bring the room down. We're trying to talk about good things.
I think a moment of silence for Jake Lloyd would be appropriate right now.
He's dead?
He might as well be.
Ouch.
Oh, wow.
Ow, man. Moving on. So,
okay.
we get the Chrome Stormtrooper. He's got this cape that's kind of on sideways, and he's carrying this gun, and he looks awesome. I dig that chrome armor, man. I thought that was pretty cool looking. I don't know, like, is this like a rank thing? Are the Chrome Troopers more of like generals or something? I mean, because he looked important. He didn't look just like any other trooper, you know.
Or maybe it just looks cool.
Yeah, but it's got with Abrams. I would hope he's not going to throw something in there. Oh, that just looks cool. There's probably a purpose to it, and I mean the camera's focused on this one guy, so I'm assuming he's kind of important, maybe, sort of, kind of. I don't know. And then we get BB-8, the little ball droid on the Millennium Falcon peeking around the corner.
Yeah.
Hello. Three Stooges style. And then we have Rey offering Finn her hand to help him up, and he accepts. And then we get the Millennium Falcon again flying into the exhaust port area of like one of the down craft.
Star Destroyer.
That
was fantastic.
Yeah, it reminds me of Return of the Jedi when they're going into the Death Star, and you got the TIE fighters chasing right after them, and then you get a shot of the TIE fighter pilot's armor, which got like red stripes coming down the helmet and stuff. It's very different.
It's only got one tube this time, and it's kind of a cool looking. You could almost say it's Boss.
You could.
That's more now.
If this was 1993.
Hey, we're taking it back, you know. I mean, this is harkening back to the original trilogy. We're just trying to, you know, take it back there, man.
Would you prefer if it had looked groovy?
How about mint? Can we go with mint? Can we do that?
Bomb.
That's the bomb, man.
Totally is the bomb, yo.
Or people still use the bomb though. That's actually not too dated at this point. Anyway.
That's a cool shot though.
It is a cool shot.
And I think if they did not throw it in there to harken back to Return of the Jedi, that they totally did.
Yeah.
It's too good, but I didn't even care. Like it was just that was fantastic.
And to me, it's appropriate.
Yeah.
I like that kind of stuff. I mean, it's just like, you know, and it's just cool. I mean, it's just great.
Yeah.
And again, I loved it. And if that didn't give you goosebumps, then you get Han saying, you know,
go to black screen.
Go to black.
And all you hear is
Chewie,
and you're like, yes.
And the camera comes up and it's Han and Chewie on board the Millennium Falcon, and Han says, "We're home."
Both holding guns, of some, you know, blasters. You know, so
Chewie's got his crossbow.
Yeah, so are they holding up somebody at the moment?
Chewie's holding up his crossbow. I don't think Han was holding anything, or we couldn't see anything.
I don't think you see anything. But yeah, it's like that's a good point. Like, does he say we're home because somebody had the Millennium Falcon? Like,
that's my theory. My theory is that he's been away from the Millennium Falcon for a while, and that's why he's saying we're home. He's looking around like.
Yeah,
we're home, man.
It's almost like he just realized, wait, we're in the Falcon now, so maybe the Falcon's been disguised as like a cantina or something. I don't know. Because really, how do you not know that's a Millennium Falcon? I mean, but it seems like he's just realizing it right then. They're on the Falcon.
Probably got to maybe they're in the cockpit. Maybe they just got to the cockpit. I don't know. I'm thinking though. Yeah, like it. He has not been there for a while. It has been out of his, you know, he lost he lost it to somebody gambling
Yeah.
on one of the pod races. You know, something, I don't know, but I thought it
No,
was...
that's on Tatooine. This is Jakku.
Oh, well, you know, the Hutts get around, so...
Yeah, they could have a pod racing division on Jakku now. I mean, it could have moved.
Yeah.
You don't know. You know, the war could have changed everything. You know.
Well, yeah. I mean,
No. I don't know, but yeah, it's... I'm happy the way that they went with this trailer because they threw in Luke Skywalker at the beginning, and then they come back full circle with Han Solo at the end, and like, I mean, it's perfect timing. Like, it makes sense. Like, they couldn't have done this much later because those guys are getting old.
They are.
Like, he's got to be like in his 70s.
I think so.
Yeah, I think like that's what I'm thinking. Like they're gonna focus on the original characters, you know, somewhat in this movie, and then I think they're just gonna wipe it and go a completely new route with these newer characters, which is fine. I don't really want to see an 80-year-old Han Solo hobbling around trying to hit on.
Hold up, Luke, I'm coming.
he's in the cantina band.
They smell bad on the outside. There's no riding on a tauntaun with this guy.
No.
Unless it's got a step ladder to get on
Yeah,
top of it.
exactly. Oh man, no, but I love that trailer. It got me excited. It makes it so hard for me not to scream out like a fanboy and say this is going to be awesome, for sure.
And we'll see once the full story trailer comes out what we think then.
If there will be one, I don't know.
It's just a teaser. They've been saying this is just a teaser.
I know, but I wonder if they're going to continue with these teaser-style trailers until the movie comes out and leave you in the dark.
I
until
would
the
not
film comes
mind
out.
that whatsoever.
Yeah, me
really
too.
wouldn't.
I actually would prefer that because I think, and this is just my theory, because usually there's only one real teaser, and then they have a theatrical trailer, and that's what people were expecting this to be another. You know, we've had our teaser, now we get theatrical. We haven't had that. Now we've had 2 teasers in a row, which makes me wonder if this is being done on purpose by J.J. Abrams, because behind the scenes, he's been upset with all the leaks that have happened, and he actually wanted to have Disney move the film up more because of all the leaks that were happening. But that's not going to happen. Disney machine's rolling. It's going to come out in December.
Christmas, yeah.
So I think maybe this is a compromise. There's already enough information out there. They don't want to confirm any of these leaks or rumors. So maybe what they're going to try to do is just let's not leak any of the story. We'll just have voiceovers here and there, and just have quick shots, and those will be all of our trailers. And I think that would more than suffice. I'm going to go check this movie out.
Yeah.
Just on that.
Do you really think that's what they're going to do, though?
I would hope so.
I mean,
you never know.
Let's take hope out of it. Do you really see that's what they're going to be doing?
I don't know. I have no idea. Because
I would assume that they're good. You know, as much as I don't want them to, I'm pretty sure they're going to put out some sort of story trailer because that's just what you do.
Well, yeah.
But they don't. I mean,
they really don't need to. It's
no, they should know
That's
that
the
they
thing.
don't need to do it, but they're probably going to because
I don't know.
that's just what you do.
We'll see.
But yeah, this movie, even with the prequels, this movie is you're gonna go to it. Like, you're just gonna go.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna be like, well, episode 1, 2, and 3. You know, I don't know.
I've always half joked that you could have just, you know, you could just shoot for 2 hours paint drying and label it Star Wars, and people would go to see it. It would make $300 million.
Enough people are gonna go to it on day one where it's gonna make its money back.
Yeah.
Because filming paint dry for 2 hours probably doesn't cost that much.
Exactly. But no, I mean, people would just go see it because the name Star Wars is on it, you know? It's that old adage, you know?
The only hesitation that you would have as a Star Wars aficionado, viewer, whatever, would be is if this episode were being made by Lucas. I would still obviously go see it, especially if I knew that some of the original characters were going to be in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't be expecting much. I really wouldn't.
Yeah.
The fact that it's going a completely different way with, you know, new people and a new director and new story issues, is fantastic.
Yeah.
So, the less Lucas is there, the better.
So, with that, I'll let me know, what are your hopes for Episode 7? Like, at the end of the day, what do you want Episode 7 to be for you?
I hope I can watch from beginning to end without being furious at any point in between. That's pretty much it. I mean,
That's it?
as long as it can accomplish that, it'll be a success. Okay?
Okay.
I mean, yeah. I know it's not going to be as good as the original trilogy. I know it's probably not going to be as bad as the prequels. So,
Some middle ground is nice.
as long as I can
Nice.
watch it, yeah, I'll be
Yeah.
fine with it. I mean,
if it's a good just standalone movie,
Yeah.
like that would be fantastic. If it's just an entertaining film to watch without, I mean, that's another thing I'm curious about. I wonder how are they just gonna assume that everybody knows everything about Star Wars, or are they gonna do some sort of backstory or allude to things as if you're a kindergartner? But
This should be a good time to just really introduce new fans to the franchise.
totally.
Really, that's why you would drop Episode 7 from it, is to say this one really isn't connected. Anyone can jump on here.
But the official title is Episode 7, The Force Awakens, and they've said it at the panel, this is the 7th film in the series. So it is obviously a part of it,
yeah.
and therefore I'm thinking, if that's what they're going for, then you're probably just going to open it up and you're going to have the opening crawl, that's all you need. If you watch the original trilogy, fantastic.
Yeah.
If not, the opening crawl should hopefully satisfy all you need to know.
Yeah.
And then just roll with it.
Yeah.
And there will be callbacks probably, and if you haven't watched the original trilogy, hopefully that's not going to hurt you. But
Yeah.
if you have, it fills you in. That's my hope for it. That it strikes that happy medium, and that they're not going to go back in backstories and have Luke go,
No,
man,
just
then when I had to fight my father and all that kind
Remember
of
when
stuff.
we were bullseyeing Wombats on our
T-16s back home. Yeah,
I mean, yeah, that would be obviously ridiculous. I wonder just how much they are going to do something like that, though.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see. But like Ben was saying, yeah, if you can get through the movie and it's entertaining, that's fantastic. I mean, if you can get through the movie without there being ridiculous racial stereotypes.
I still don't know how the Nemoidians got onto that screen.
I mean,
we shall be here to offend you.
yeah, really? I just don't know how that happened, but
That was offensive.
The most thinly veiled ethnic slur I've ever seen on screen.
That and then Jar Jar and his whole thing, the Gungans.
The Gungans were all
But that's a totally different
and
discussion.
even
though.
Watto and other
yeah.
ethics. I mean,
the
ethnic-
redneck of the group or whatever.
I don't know, Italian maybe? I don't know what they were going for there, but it was a slur of some kind.
You're giving me parts here. I'm gonna. No, you just had bad gas. I don't know. But, no, I have high hopes for this movie, and I'm really hoping it delivers. There's just J.J. Abrams has just done too much good stuff, but he's gotta fail at some point, and I'm just hoping it's not. But it's not all him. He's just the director.
Yeah.
The director has a lot to do with the movie, but not everything.
Yeah.
So
And my thought on this is this. I think J.J. Abrams, when he took on Star Trek, he got in a lot of trouble for saying what he did, but he said, I want to make Star Trek more like Star Wars. And
Because he was not a fan of Star Trek.
because he was not a fan of Star Trek. And I think he succeeded on a lot of levels
Yeah.
of capturing that spirit of what Star Wars was, but in a Star Trek way. He didn't really betray Star Trek,
No.
but he did give it a real Star Wars action flavor that it had been missing before. And so he succeeded in doing that. And so I think since he is a Star Wars fan, how much better will he do Star Wars than he did Star Trek is
Yeah.
my thing. And you're right, it's not all on him.
No.
Lawrence Kasdan, who helped co-write Return of the Jedi, is back to write this script with J.J. Abrams, and they both rewrote a script from the writer who wrote Toy Story 3, and all of that. So you have all of these elements in here on
You have
the
a lot
script.
of good elements that will hopefully deliver and make
and gel
a
a really
cohesive project
yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah. And my hope is that it just captures the spirit of the original trilogy in some way, shape, or form, that I can walk out with a smile on my face.
Yeah.
And if I can do that, and I can walk out and go, that was good.
Yeah.
You know, like, I want that.
Yeah.
Because I've been robbed of that with,
Yeah.
with the prequels. And I so want that.
Well, that's like if you would have gone to if the Phantom Menace would have been the first movie of the Star Wars franchise, there wouldn't be a Star Wars franchise. And the only reason those three films did well is because of the original trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if someone would have made the Phantom Menace, it would have been Battlefield Earth. Like, it would have been a disaster.
Yeah, if the name Star Wars was in front of it and it was just some random movie like Cosmos Battles the Phantom Menace,
Yeah.
no one's going to see that. No way.
It would have been a failure.
Yes, and rightfully so.
Yeah. And that would have been it. You
Yeah.
wouldn't have had 2 and 3. So that's what I'm hoping, that this movie, obviously is going to pull people in because of Star Wars, but I hope that it delivers in a way that it's just a good standalone movie.
Mhm.
It's just entertaining, it's fun and funny and action, and I hope there's some adult elements and not just stupid slapsticky stuff, which I don't think there will be, but you
Yeah.
never know. But the original trilogy did it so much better than the prequels, throwing humor into it, but not putting it in your face. And maybe I'm skewed because I saw it when I was a kid or when we were younger, but I just didn't get anything in the prequels that made any sense.
Yeah, no, I agree. The prequels were just, not to get too heavy on it, but I mean, I don't know. They were so not Star Wars, and they were so, there's nothing redeeming about those films, and I don't care what people tell me. I don't care how many people bash me on, for my views on that. It's true. If these things were just a generic sci-fi movie, they would have failed hard, as they deserved. They would have deserved to, and we would have never heard of it again. And so, yeah,
It would have been a big budget failure, just like a lot of other movies that try to do that. What's the most recent one? That Jupiter Ascending or something like that?
Oh yeah.
It's this huge, big budget thing. And it's a failure. But if it would have been Star Wars Jupiter Ascending, people would have tried to.
$300 million easy.
Yeah.
You
People would have tried to defend it and get behind it, and yeah.
Yeah.
But no such luck. So.
Yeah. And
Well, we could almost do an entire podcast on Jupiter Ascending, but
I never saw it. Don't really want to.
no.
it's got some golden moments in there. Wow.
So all that being said, let's actually, before I get to that question, one thing I do want to point out too that I think is cool about this trilogy, just beyond Episode 7, is J.J. Abrams isn't coming back to direct Episode 8. We've got another director coming in for Episode 8, and then presumably another director for Episode 9. And so, again, it's like the original trilogy in that respect. We had George Lucas direct the first one, Irvin Kershner on the second one, and then I forget who did Return of the Jedi. But there were 3 different directors.
Everybody does.
3 different writing combos for those films. Each one was different, and I think that helps. I really do. I think, because again, if something goes a little off course in Episode 7, if another writer comes in and says, maybe I want to change that, then
you're not stuck in your ways if it's not the same people doing it.
Yeah, you have some chance.
But you have a good enough base where hopefully you're not going to screw it up too bad.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, this movie is more important than I think the other 2 in a fashion, 8 and 9, because if you can start off strong, it's going to be much harder to screw up 8 and 9. You need this movie to take off and be awesome.
Yeah, you need to. They really are going to need to present these characters in a way that you want to stick with them and you want to know more about them. And that I felt like in the original trilogy they totally did that, and it was they didn't even try. It just happened. Like it was.
Well, because it was so natural. Like
It
I
was
think
so natural.
I think one of the scenes that really connected you to Luke was one where he didn't even have any dialogue, where he walks out and watches the sunset on Tatooine, and you just know what he's feeling there. That longing of, I'm in the middle of nowhere, my life is going nowhere, and what am I doing here?
Yeah.
You know, and I think all of us, to one level or another, can relate to that. So if we have relatable characters like that, it's going to go a long way. Because I couldn't relate to any of the people in the prequel. That was another problem, you know.
You were thrown into it, and you didn't care the entire way.
No.
And the characters you did care about, the movies kind of made you not care about them, and you already knew about them anyway. So it's like, it's just silly. But another thing that we haven't talked about is the music, and the way they used the music in that trailer was fantastic.
Yeah.
Because like, obviously John Williams, and it's a lot of the same music, but then towards the end it like kind of takes this shift or whatever. That was just.
Yeah, it
was really great.
It starts out like the classical Star Wars, goes into something a little new, and then comes right back into the old classic stuff.
It was really good.
Yeah, no, I dug that. And John Williams is supposedly scoring these trailers, and he will be scoring the actual Episode VII film here.
Of course.
So we have him coming back for that. I mean, man, I don't know if he's gonna. Hopefully, he has his health. He'll still be healthy enough to do 8 and 9. He'll be around, but he's in his 80s.
Yeah.
Man's getting old.
If Christopher Lee can stay this long, I can't see why. You know.
Man, I'm sure he's happy he stuck around this long to be able to play a role like Count Dooku. I'm sure that's a
kicking himself because he can't be in these new movies now because he was in those old.
He's like, crap.
Maybe they cloned him. Okay, you never know.
Ewan McGregor and Liam Neeson are just hanging their heads crying somewhere. Why did I have to play that character?
Maybe they can come back as Force Ghosts.
Liam Neeson sitting around. Liam Neeson sitting around. I played a character named Qui-Gon Jinn,
and I died.
Ugh. Well, he's probably thanking God he died in the first one. He didn't have to stick around for all 3 of those things. Can you imagine? Whew.
He was supposed to be in the 3rd one.
Yeah.
But
I think
they cut him for some reason.
Yikes. So, all of that being said, we'll wrap it up with one more question. So at this point, based on what you've seen, what you've heard, honestly, on a scale from 1 to 10.
From 1 to boss.
1 to boss, yes. 10 being the most boss. 10 being the most boss, 1 being the least boss. How confident are you that Episode 7 will be a great movie? Not a good movie, not an okay movie, a great film. How confident are you at this point, scale of 1 to 10?
Confident that it'll be great.
Great.
I'm not confident at all. I saw the prequels. I know better than anybody. Don't go into this expecting it to be great. Please, I'm begging you people, don't.
Yeah, that's probably not a bad way to look at it, actually.
Don't go into any movie expecting it to be great, especially not something like this.
Yeah. You can get wrapped up in a lot of the whole Star Wars. Yeah.
Yeah. With that being said, though, I guess I would rate it as a 1. There is a slight small part of me that does, but you know.
1. So you're not confident at all this movie will be great?
I'm not until I see more will I have any more confidence in it.
You went the lowest. You're not confident at all.
Here's the thing: if you said good, then that would be different.
Okay.
But you say great. Yeah.
Like what are we talking? What's great? Are we
Well,
talking Empire great?
I guess it's subjective to each person, but you know, great being something that, at least in my mind, what great means is I'm probably going to see this movie again in theaters at least a couple more times, and I'm definitely buying it on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
You know, that is great to me. If you bring me back to the theater at least one or two more times, this is a great film. If you can make me pay that money again.
Yeah.
So.
If you feel like you need to see it again because you might have missed something, or you just liked it that much that you want to see it.
Like, oh, I gotta see this again in the theater. I can't wait for Blu-ray.
honestly, I can't even remember a movie that I've done that with recently, anyway.
Yeah.
Other than Episode 1.
You made
So by
it.
proxy, your favorite Star Wars movie, if that's going to be your metric.
It really is kind of, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ooh,
You paid the most money in theaters for Episode 1.
just to erase that from your record, you may want to just go to Episode 7 3 or 4 times just to get that.
I
Just
think
so that Episode 1 doesn't hold that record anymore.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
Oh.
I'm sorry, man.
I don't know. I guess exactly right. There were different circumstances.
Moment of silence.
I
for
went to
John
The Water
Solo.
Boy twice in theaters. All right. Just kill me. Just kill me.
I don't know where to go from here.
Anyway, so yeah, I want to say 10. I want to say 10.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
I want to say 10.
Yes.
I can't though. Like I have to, especially Ben's 1 for the love of God. I can't say 10. But
Well, if that's what you really feel like. I mean, what do you really honestly feel like? Based on what you've seen.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like I have to figure out: is it because of what I've seen, or is it just the hype? Is it just in my head what Star Wars
Good point.
is?
Good point.
If Star Wars was not attached to this movie,
Yeah,
would you care as much?
you can't be. It's so hard to be subjective
Yeah.
in that respect, though, because you have
And I have to take Star Wars into it because I'm a Star Wars
You have
fan,
to,
right? Like
because
I
they have
to.
characters from the original trilogy in this movie, so
Yeah.
and the lore is straight up in the trailer from the original trilogy. So it's
Mhm.
like you can't. It's not a standalone movie. It would be awesome if it was, and I'm hoping that it kind of can be. I mean, I want to say 10, but yeah, I'm gonna say 10.
10.
I'm gonna say 10.
Wow.
All that.
So
all
you're 10 out of 10 on the boss scale. You think this is going to be the most boss
It's gonna
movie
be the
of all
most
time?
boss movie of all time since Episode 1.
Oh.
How wizard is it though?
Oh,
Oh
wow.
wow.
Where is your van, by the way?
Down by the river.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Like, everything I've seen, it just, when I saw that trailer, it was just randomly at the end of my shift yesterday at work, and I pulled up my phone and I looked at it, and I was just like, this is awesome. From the first shot to the ending with Han Solo. I mean, like, it's like, and the music in between, tying it all together. I was like, this has to do well. This is too cool to not do well.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say 10.
No, that's
I'm gonna
awesome.
say 10.
I'm gonna explain my score before I give it.
Probably wise.
So I'm looking at this from a perspective of I honestly believe that George Lucas is the reason why the prequels were terrible.
How ironic is that?
And that part of the equation has been completely removed from Episode 7. So while the prequels may have tainted my view of what Star Wars can be, I have to take that into consideration too and say, well, George Lucas was responsible for that. And part of the reason why is because there were no checks and balances involved.
Yeah.
George Lucas was a dictator, basically. He completely wrote, completely directed, completely produced, blah, blah, blah. Everything, and no one second guessed him. Because they were all afraid to tell him, hey, George, this really sucks. I mean...
George, are you racist? Hey, what you talking about? Misa thinks of you being silly.
Is that how George Lucas talks?
When he's not being filmed on camera.
He's not racist. That's normal dialogue for him.
This is just how I talk. Many Bothans died to bring me that information.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Many.
Poor Bothans, they keep dying just to bring people info.
Yeah.
I don't
That's
know.
the only reason they're around, is to die.
Yeah, we've never seen them, but...
Oh.
Man,
Well, they're all dead.
That's true.
Duh.
Man, I don't know why I didn't think that. So, anyway, so George Lucas has been removed from the equation, and therefore, I feel like I can be more optimistic for this. And I think, and that Disney consciously removed him from it, where George Lucas offered the treatments, George Lucas offered to be a consultant, and Disney said no thank you,
God.
basically, to both.
What a slap in the
It is a slap in the face, but at the same time,
I think it deserved one.
I think he did in a fashion. I mean, and not only that, but I think Disney understands what that tells the fans. I don't think the fans look at it as a slap in the face as much as they go, okay, they're communicating that they understand George Lucas was the reason behind the prequels being as bad as they were.
I think you're right, because I think a lot of people definitely think that way and believe that way. I mean, I'm definitely one of them.
And how J.J. Abrams and everyone was talking at the panel, I think they were trying really hard not to say that the prequels sucked and that they're not the prequels and they're, are trying to be the awesome original trilogy. They were trying hard to be political about it. Yeah. But that, I think, is the attitude of Episode VII, and what it will be is this is the anti-prequel sequel, and I couldn't be more happy with that attitude, personally. And so, therefore, looking at it from that perspective, looking at it from the fact that Abrams does have checks and balances in place, unlike Lucas, from people who I have to believe care. Lawrence Kasdan would not come back if he did not care about the integrity of this franchise. Mm-hmm. He wrote Return of the Jedi. I think, and some of Lawrence Kasdan's original ideas were pretty cool. Didn't get used. One of Lawrence Kasdan's original ideas for Return of the Jedi was that the second Death Star was going to be actually constructed not around a planet named Endor with Ewoks, but around the planet Kashyyyk with Wookiees building it. And I thought that was a much better idea, and having a battle between the Wookiees and the Empire would have been a much cooler and more believable fight at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
But George Lucas stepped in, overrode that, and says, I want cute little Ewoks instead because they're more marketable.
Yeah. Plus the costumes are probably easier to make. And, little people need work too.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I guess
he's racist, but he's not sizist.
Exactly. See, George Lucas has some standards.
This man gave Warwick Davis a career, okay?
That's true.
If it wasn't for him, the Leprechaun movies would never exist, and Willow would never exist, and...
That's...
Okay, so it was a bad idea,
that was a terrible idea, actually.
Yeah.
The more we can blame George Lucas for.
I love Willow, you guys are dicks.
Man, so...
That's why you saw Episode 1 so many times, I mean...
Exactly.
Anyway.
Oh, poor John. So, all that being said, when I saw this trailer, I went in with a pessimistic mindset. I've been trying to have kind of this probably won't be as good, but I could not help myself. I really couldn't. From the moment this trailer kicked in and the dialogue with the music, everything that I saw to the very end with Han, and just the double entendre of Chewie, we're home. Mm-hmm. I think, that is also a call to the fans of we're coming home, we're coming back around to what the original trilogy was, we're getting that spirit back. All of that, I had goosebumps on my goosebumps from seeing that, and I watched this trailer about 20-30 times over the last day because I'm that excited about this movie. All that being said, I will temper my excitement a little bit still, but I have to say it's a solid 8.5.
Wow.
In confidence that this will be a great film.
We have faith.
Great.
Maybe I should explain a little bit more. When I say one, I'm not saying I think this is going to be a bad movie. I'm just saying that right now I don't see anything that says this is going to be great. I'm saying, it looks good, but right now we don't know anything really about the story or anything. I mean, for all we know, Kylo Ren could talk like Jar Jar. We don't know.
That's going to kill you.
that
being said, I mean, you're probably going to be the one that's going to enjoy the movie the most.
Yeah, that's the
least expectation.
Yeah, so actually, when I say a 1, I'm saying that as someone who's trying to go in with the lowest of possible expectations.
I guess we could call you a realist. I don't know.
Well,
First time I've been called that.
I think when we come back this December at the end of the year and do a review for Episode 7, because we definitely should do that.
I could come here as a broken man. Who knows?
We'll see who's crying, if anyone. If they're going to be tears of joy or tears of absolute dread walking onto that theater. I'm hoping that It will be a fantastic experience, and we'll get the spirit of Star Wars back finally, and that these Star Wars movies will be movies that we can claim and say these are our Star Wars films. Finally, we have something that we can be proud of, that we can say to our kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews, you know, all the way down the line that I was there for the original first showing of these films, and it was awesome, and that's why you kids know these movies to this day. And that's what I hope for. And yeah, that's my new hope. There we go.
Nicely done.
I know. Thank you.
And scene.
And scene. Thank you. So, that being said, I think we said everything we need to say today.
At least for now.
At least for now. So, yeah, well, with that, we'll be back in a couple weeks talking about more movie news, maybe reviews. Maybe we'll talk about Avengers if all of us are going to see that. I'm planning on it.
Maybe Ant-Man, because that's a trailer worth dissecting, right?
Yeah, we can talk about Ant-Man trailers too.
Dissecting.
The next podcast or the next vidcast, we could also talk about the Superman Batman trailer. I've seen the leaked version of the trailer, but the official version comes out Monday, and we can talk about that as well. But yeah, for Ben, John, or Ben, John, I don't know.
Who am I again?
You're someone.
Hey, it's a twist.
It is.
What a twist.
It's an M. Night Shyamalan twist.
That's right.
Ooh, hey. So anyway, I'm James, and we will see you next time here on Movie Authority. See ya. YouTube. Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, we're just kind of here. Yeah.
Where did you come from?
All right, I gotta get the goofiness out of my system. Otherwise, this is gonna be all night affair. All right.
Everything's look good here. How are you?
How are you doing? We're fine.
Everything's fine now here, very much.
How are you?
How are you? Boring conversation anyway. All right.
Run for it, Marty!
All of a sudden he's Doc Brown. Whoa! The Libyans! Here we go, guys. Here we go.
Well, that's it. Goodbye.
Good night.